On this episode of Eat Sleep Drive, it's time to put some speed parts in my LS1 before it goes in the 240. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Eat Sleep Drive. I am here at Turn-In Concepts in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm here with Ethan, who is one of the engine builders here. And we're going to be doing some stuff on the LS1 today. So, Ethan, what are we going to be doing?
We're going to be putting a camshaft in this thing, try to make some more power, as well as the supporting valve train mods.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to get started. Ethan's going to be helping me out. He has his own project LS swap that he's doing in his 240. Well, it's going to be turbo. It's going to be super badass. But he has the knowledge and experience for this kind of stuff. So I'm super excited to get underway. This is actually the first time I've seen this engine. I bought it sight unseen, and I'm excited to tear into it just because might as well do it before we put it in the car. So let's get started. Before we put those shiny new parts in this engine, we have to tear this thing down. That means taking everything from the top of the engine, like the intake manifold, valve covers, and heads, to the front of the engine with the water pump and the crank pulley. Now that the top end's all stripped, we can carefully pull the cam out.
Voila! You have a camshaft.
Before we pull the valves out, we're marking them with numbers so we can make sure that we put them back in the appropriate spot in the head. Next, we're compressing the valve springs so we can remove the keepers that are holding them in. While they're out, we're going to give the valves a quick cleanup with a wire brush.
Just trying to clean them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Back sides.
It's a lot better.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of wire wheel, huh?
Right.
Alright, so we're going to go pressure test the valves, make sure that everything's seated properly, and hopefully we don't need a valve job, but we'll find out.
So just find right pad that's going to cover the port there. And turn my vacuum on. That's going all the way up to almost 24. So accounting for the difference there is about 21 inches of vacuum. Turn it off, and it's holding it fairly well. Yeah, so I would not recommend the valve job at all.
Cool.
At least on, I have the rest of the check. But
after going through all the ports, there was only one cylinder that wasn't holding vacuum like the rest. It wasn't terrible though, so Ethan recommended lapping the valves to try and even it out.
I'm removing the valve stem seals. They just press on to the guides. So, special removal tool right here.
With the valves all taken care of, it's time to reassemble the head. Before we slap these heads back on, we're going to deck them just the tiniest bit to make sure they're completely straight and true and clean. Just as Ethan is making his final adjustments to make sure the head is completely level, we're paid a visit.
Can you tell us what we're doing today?
Yep. See, what we're gonna do is make some power. But the thing is, you got these valves in backwards.
Oh, what?
The big one goes in the small spot, and the small one goes in the big spot.
Oh, that's to make sure that the air fucking go around the small
so
one.
typically, what I do is see these rust spots.
Yeah.
Take a 200 grit.
200 grit.
Get a big old brick.
Yeah.
Just chop one out of the wall there.
Yeah.
And then what you'll do is just get her hammer down and just sand her up, a little spit shine, and she'll be good to go, making all the power you could possibly imagine. So a buddy of mine did that shit to his.
Dale?
No, it was Tim.
Tim? Oh, yeah. Okay.
But he ended up picking up about 2 horsepower off of that.
Wow, that's where the gains are right there. That's the little things that count.
It's all in the way that you finish it.
So right now we're pressing out the bearings on the stock rockers. Ethan, why like upgrade these to the different style bearings?
So you can see all of these needle bearings. If you have a failure of the stock bearing, those can scatter throughout your engine and destroy everything inside of it. So the Trunnion upgrade is a fully caged needle bearing, and that way the needle bearings don't ever come out inside your engine.
So now we're pressing in the trunnion bearing, upgraded trunnion bearings. And the instructions say to keep the writing out on both sides. Soaking some lifters.
See all those air bubbles coming out of them.
Yeah, no shit.
We're just gonna throw this engine back together now. We have everything, all the parts that we think we need, and the trunnion bearings are done, and we should be good to go. Everything's clean, so we're gonna throw this thing back together. As with any engine, you need to make sure it's timed properly when putting everything back together. Since the engine was apart, it just made sense to upgrade the oil pump as well. Here we're putting in the new lifters and trays, and then we could put the head gasket and heads on. Next, it's head bolts, push rods, and rocker arms. Putting an intake manifold on this thing really made it look like an engine again. From there, it was just installing the rest of the accessories. All right, well, we have an engine finally.
Yes,
it was
finally.
a long day. Huge thanks to Ethan for putting up with me today and his expertise. Dude, I'm super excited. I can't believe it's all back together, and yeah, like it looks like an engine again, and I can't wait to drop it in the car. So Thanks so much for your help, dude.
You're welcome. Excited for you. Can't wait to hear this thing running.
Yeah, man. Likewise. So hopefully, you know, eventually we could do a video, at least some sort of documentary video of Ethan's car as well, because a twin turbo LS in a 240 is definitely right up my alley. So huge thanks again, man. And thanks everyone for watching, guys. Tune in next time for when we drop this in the car.